Today on episode 134 of Typical Chicago Fans, we have Sinkers and Floaters, the TCF Sports Minute, an NFL draft preview interview with our guy Bobby Wilson, ideas under the influence, and the TCF top three of the biggest NFL draft busts. Let's roll. Hello and welcome to episode 134 of Typical Chicago Fans, brought to you by our incredible sponsor, Connect Roasters Coffee. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at typical_Chicago. Head to Facebook and Instagram. Give our pages a like there. Go on over to YouTube. Subscribe there for all of our content in video form. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. Follow and give a rating on Spotify, or you can find us anywhere you find podcasts. Spreaker, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Make sure to follow Zach at Z Lilia TCF. And, of course, Maddie at schools_01. You can find me there at Boomy TCF. Boys, NFL Draft Day. We are here. It kind of snuck up on us, but the weather's starting to change. It's starting to feel like spring a little bit, so we're getting there. How's everybody doing this week as we get ready for the NFL Draft?
I know we always talk about weather. I am so over wind. It is just, It's insane. It's like, I know I was at a gas station the other day, and this guy that was from not around here, he goes, "Is it always windy?" I'm like, I guess it is this time of year. It's just,
I was just talking to Maggie about that tonight, dude. Like, how much it fucking sucks right now. Like, you go from the cold, and then you just get blasted with wind for a month.
Yeah, it's
every
just,
day.
I don't get how that works out.
Also, to anyone that may complain that we always complain about the weather, you're just going to have to buckle in for that, because we're going to complain about it when it's 0 degrees, when it's 90 degrees, when it's windy, when it's rainy. It doesn't matter what the weather's going to be like. There's going to be something we're going to complain about. So just get used to that by now.
The reason we
haven't quite figured that out.
The reason we have this podcast is for that reason.
Exactly.
Yeah,
to complain about the
therapy.
Weather. Exactly.
Just to complain about the weather. That's the only reason we really started this.
And hey, listen, the weather's bad, but there's a lot of people in a lot worse situations. And I'm going to start off with one of them in my sinkers and floaters. My sinker this week is outhouses. And I don't know if anybody's heard this, but in the state of Washington,
that should always be a sinker for everybody.
Oh, just you wait, Zach. It gets 10 times worse. So a woman was using an outhouse in a national forest in Washington State. After using the facilities, she dropped her phone into said outhouse. And this isn't like a normal like porta potty. These are like these like built outhouses in like national parks. And so it's pretty big. They don't go in there. It's not, like a little small one. But this woman drops her phone, tries to use her dog's leash to get it out. That doesn't work. So then she uses the dog leash to lower herself into the area, because it's not just like a little, like I'm thinking of like a porta potty. It's not just one of those little.
No.
Yeah, this is like a small, very small room. She tries to lower herself in head first. The chain breaks. This woman fell head first into an outhouse.
Stop.
No, so she somehow was able. So she dropped her phone and was able to still use it. Called 911. So they had to call firefighters and rescue and pull this woman out of the outhouse. Yeah,
I will get a new phone. I don't need a phone that bad.
No, there's no phone, no matter how nice, that I'm willing to go head first into a porta potty.
Imagine that happens to you, and you're just sitting there, and then all of a sudden, it's just like, boom, you're in poop.
Not even that, Zach. She was in there for, they say, 10 to 15 minutes before that she was
had
able
to find
to
her
get
phone. So, I mean, she had to move around down there and stuff. Oh, my gosh.
They said it.
No fucking way.
They said it was so bad that firefighters were able to pass her blocks to stand on to reach a harness that they used to pull her out of the vault. So this is like a room of poop.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and then the woman declined medical services. But like, if you know anything about like sanitation, like even if you have the smallest cut anywhere on your body, you should probably go to the hospital.
Stop it. Oh my!
Like, there's going to be infections there. Like, this woman over a phone. Like, cut your losses, lady.
We got to move on from that, because almost making me sick thinking about that. You know
So
what
next
also
time you
is
use
making
an outhouse, think
you know
about
what
that.
also is making me sick? Chicago sports.
Not
The
great.
Cubs, as we were recording, they are winning. The White Sox did win today, but they had an 8-game losing streak before that. The Bulls,
Dead.
bad. And then Chicago Bears don't have a first-round pick. Not much to look forward to in this draft. Chicago sports
At
just
least Thursday
making
we
me
don't.
sad. Well, I understand that. We do have, I think, 6 picks.
Got a pair
but
of
you know what I mean?
seconds, yeah, at least. So that get a little juice on Friday early, at least.
We'll see what polls does. I mean, we'll get more into it, but Chicago sports altogether is just kind of sad right now, unfortunately.
It's not a great time of the year, and obviously with the situations going on in Chicago. So that's a good sinker there, Zach.
Well, thank you. But hey, at least we didn't fall in poop.
Yeah, I was going to say, anything that we can talk about in sinkers is not going to be as bad as falling into a vault of poop.
Remember when the butt fumble was like, what was it, the not top 10? It was like number 1 for so many weeks. I think that story would be number 1 for a long time.
Yeah, that's a sinker Hall of Fame right there. That's a first ballot Hall of Famer when you fall into a vault of poop. Maddie, what do you got for us?
Wait, before I get out of my sinker, Patrick Wisdom just hit a 2-run home run, so it's not all that bad.
Little silver lining.
Yeah.
My sinker is it's a known nemesis of mine dating back to last year. Frequent
Well documented
visitor of my battles with this sinker. It was the fucking birds, and the birds are fucking back. And they decided that no, the vent, all of my plants, the dryer vent that they tried to build a nest in that I just get dug out. The the oven vent, the exhaust vent. They tried to get into that one. I had to put a cage up on that. No, now it's in my garage, and it was on top of my bag set. I have a bean bag set hanging on my wall. I got a stack of bags on there. Look over, putting the kid in the car to go to school the other morning, and sure as shit, there's a fucking bird's nest on top of my bags, dude.
How do they make them so quickly? How do they make them so quickly?
I don't know. Dude. It's wild. It's absolutely wild to see these things. But so I get the kid in the car, walk over there, grab some gloves that I had nearby because there's no fucking way I'm touching that disease-filled sponge of life right there. Look in, no eggs, throw it out in the front yard, drop the kid off. The school's 2 blocks, 3 blocks away, but a lot of times we walk as long as the weather's nice, so it's that close. And so drive to drop him off, get back, 10-15 minute trip, and the thing is in tatters out in the yard. It's like split in half basically already. They were already disassembling it in the short time that I was gone. Later tonight though, I got him back, and I think I put an end to that nest because it was sitting in my driveway as I was pulling in from work. The wind must have blown, the remaining half back in, and I smashed that shit with my car. Had to.
Maddie versus birds, a tale as old as time.
I had
Maddie has won the war.
A statement that your presence is not welcome in my garage.
And that's one you just leave in the driveway for a couple weeks, just so all the other birds know.
All of you see it, believe it. This is your future.
Maddie, you should get some.
I will not stop.
Sidewalk chalk and just circle it. Circle it with some sidewalk chalk and be like, this is what's gonna happen.
No, I'm gonna become a fucking cat guy, which is crazy.
Oh no.
That's not what I'm fucking do. I'm gonna get a colony of outdoor cats just roam the fucking yard.
Maddie and
I don't know if you'll like that.
No, I won't. So I won't let them in the house. Just stay in the yard. Patrol the neighborhood,
Maddie and the posse of cats.
Patrol the neighborhood.
I love it. My floater, on the other hand, is wedding food, and that's because it made people literally float. As a Florida woman, 2 Florida women.
Where was my invite?
2 Florida women have been arrested for serving marijuana-laced food to unsuspecting guests at a wedding reception in February. She said several people had complaints that they felt stoned and were taken to hospitals for treatment. They several tested positive for THC. A detective wrote in the report that guests said they had not been warned about the laced food. And like, it's 2022, marijuana is legal all over the place, but like, you do just got to tell people, like,
well, yeah, you don't want to just have somebody start feeling high and they don't know why.
Yeah, especially if like people don't consume often, like it's not going to go well for them. And when your wedding ends up having like 7 people taken to the hospital because they don't know why they're feeling funny, you just got to give people a little bit of a heads up.
Yeah, I agree. I think a sign of fun food and not fun food, that kind of distinction would be the way to do it. Because if you're doing that, you have to have an idea that your crowd is somewhat able to handle some of it. Right. Like, there's going to be some people who are not going to be upset about it, or would definitely eat that side of the buffet line. We'll just put it that way. As long as
they definitely got a bargain though. They got a bargain for what they actually got.
They didn't. You don't just like waste a bunch of money on edibles and stuff to make edibles for people that aren't going to enjoy it. Like, for one,
yeah, no, it was kind of wasted in a way. I mean,
yeah. So my
people to the hospital.
People got upset because of the quantity, probably the quality,
and they didn't know,
the fact that they didn't know. So I think if you made it clear that, hey, we're gonna have some fun food for people that want it, we're gonna have some regular food for people that don't want it. You know what I mean?
It's a bad combination.
You can't like sneak drugs into people. Let's put it that way. Legal or not, fun or not.
Exactly. Got to let folks know.
All right, Zach, I'm going to cut you off here and jump in with my floater because I'm going to piggyback off Boomy's topic a little bit. It's 2022 wrapped up in one tweet, basically, is Laramie Tunsil. I don't know if anybody saw it. Barstool had a blog about it. I think it was Barstool. They wrote about it. That's a great picture for my angle right there, too. Laramie Tunsil, the all-pro left tackle, selling his gas mask draft night moment as an NFT to raise money for people in jail for weed. So, hey, he's doing it for a good topic, trying to, bring some money.
He has a sense of humor.
To a subject. Yeah, he's bringing money to a subject that, has affected a lot of families, affected society, affected a lot of people. And, there's strong opinions on it. So he's trying to do what he feels is good, regardless of what anybody's opinion is. Outstanding fucking picture to turn into an NFT, though. So let's not kid ourselves. Like, if you could turn this into, your Twitter avatar, or whatever, your Instagram avatar, whatever, whatever kind of NFT usage you're going to get out of something like this. What are you guys going to pay for the gas mask bong pick? I got to know.
I've never been interested in like an NFT or anything.
I'd go $200 on something like this for
that'd be so cool. $500.
That's an iconic image.
The mom will freak out when she hears this. I'm not going to actually buy that.
No, but it's just it's a legendary internet moment. And
yeah, I would love that.
Like, I know I'm old, but I'm like basically at the frontier of like the internet age growing up. Like, I grew up with the internet basically from like 6th grade on. So I was like, this is one of those, staple moments in internet history, in my opinion. And if you get a piece of that for a couple $100, I'd be all about it. I'm sure it's going to go for way more. Let's not kid ourselves.
Especially the whole fundraising thing, right? People are
that's so funny though.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody who's passionate about that same cause, gonna fork over
more athletes and stuff like that should have a sense of humor like this.
Yeah, like we talked about off air before the show, like it cost him some money on draft night. Granted, he's made it up probably tenfold because he's been, like I said, an all-pro tackle and one of the best offensive linemen in the league the last few years, and he's obviously proven that you can still make something of yourself if you smoke marijuana. So,
my floater is mowing the lawn. I did it for the first time last Saturday. It's so soothing. It's one of those things you kind of forget in the wintertime. Sometimes I do dread mowing the lawn, like you don't want to go out there if it's hot or something, but it is I like it. You get to listen to a podcast, listen to music. No one's going to mess with you. And you're making your yard look good, and that makes you feel good, I think.
I've got some mowing to do either today, this afternoon, or within the next 3 days. And I'm actually like looking forward to it. I got the I got the 0 turn last year. I sent it in, got it all tuned up. I'm like very excited to get going here this weekend. And I got a pretty decent sized yard, so it takes about an hour and a half. I love it. I'm with you, Zach. Great time of year for guys that like getting out and mowing. So good call.
I bet Maddie likes it too because you have a kid. You get away. No one wants to mess with you when you're mowing.
You're absolutely right. I haven't cut it yet. The problem is my kid's like one of those. He likes tractors, trucks, trains, all that shit. And he's got a like a Power Wheels. It's a John Deere tractor with a trailer. He's got yard equipment, tools like rakes and all kinds of stuff. So he's big into that stuff. So whenever I'm out mowing, he's like got his little bubble mower pushing that. He's already said he's going to have his tractor out when I'm mowing. So it's going to be like an all day thing, I'm sure, where I'm dodging him. But then he's, hopefully picking up sticks and spreading mulch with his tractor and shit like that,
Hey, you've probably only got 10 more years, and then you can just hand it over to him.
Yeah, well, I mean, 10 more years. Get out of here with that. It's got 6, 7 more years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Come on. No, but that's one thing I don't mind. It's like the one chore I don't mind. Like you said, throw some music on, throw a podcast on, hour and a half for my yard. After you
throw on
it
typical Chicago fans.
There you go.
Absolutely. So while you're
and by the way, even if you're not listening to it and you just have your phone down and you're away for an hour, play the podcast and get us a free play every now and then.
I was thinking about that. Like at nighthtime when you go to bed,
do stuff. If your phone's plugged in anyway, turn the volume down, play the podcast, put it on repeat too. Put it on repeat. Get us a few plays.
Yeah, exactly.
Great idea.
Come on.
Giving season. Ideas. Gotta love it.
And not even ideas under the influence.
Very true. We'll get to that later.
Technically.
It's all semantics anyway. Let's move to the TCF Sports Minute. Unfortunately, we have to start off with the Bulls. The season is over. They lost on Wednesday night, 116 to 110. But looking back now, the season's over. We move into the off season. I don't care what anybody says. This was a successful season from what we've had in the last. I mean, we haven't been to the playoffs since 2017. Yes, it sucks you're out in the first round. But the fact of the matter is a lot of people, a lot of dummies said that this team was not even going to make the playoffs, that they had the worst free agent signing of the season, that they were still a team that fought and gave us a lot of entertainment, which is something we have not had for a while at the UC on the hardwood.
I'll give you that. DeMar was definitely not the worst free agent signing of all time. He played really well, especially at the beginning of the season, MVP talk at the beginning of the season or whatever. But it's just tough because there's not a lot of great takeaways from the season going forward. Because DeMar, he's getting older. Levine, I hopefully it was just the injury, maybe that, but didn't play well at the end of the season. Kobe White definitely didn't play well in the playoffs. Patrick Williams did look very good, I think. I think that he showed that he can guard Giannis. He can score. I mean, that's one of the bright spots from the playoffs, I would have to say. One of maybe the only. Just seemed like they just gave up. And they couldn't hit open shots. I mean, they're just going to give the Bucks open shots. Yes, Grayson Allen is going to hit that many three-pointers when he's open all the time. Bobby Portis open. It just seemed like they just gave up. I don't know how they won game 2 either.
Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to double on Giannis and just leave guys who are just consistently open, and nailing open shots all game. You're gonna have to switch that up at some point. It doesn't work forever.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's almost one of those you almost with a guy like Giannis who's 7 foot and does what he does. I mean, it's almost one of those. Do you just let him score 50 and try and hold everybody else to under?
Yeah. You don't let
60 points,
7 threes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very true.
I mean, the fact of the matter is simple. I mean, they scored 86, 114, 81, 95, and 100. You're not going to win playoff games scoring 81 points and 95 points in today's NBA. And 86.
And don't forget, too, like, this was without Chris Middleton, too. Like, they were missing one of their better players. So, like, for that barometer of, where the Bulls stack up against the best in the league, like, okay, you get some work to do. You've seen where you've seen the deficiencies a little bit spotlighted, which I think is a good thing. Looking forward, though, I think what you want to see is Lonzo Ball get.
I wouldn't hate
healthy.
that.
I wouldn't be upset about that. But Lonzo Ball get healthy. Caruso obviously get back in the fold. I'd like to see somebody that can maybe draw a foul. Would be nice. Offensively, whether it's an inside score or somebody that gets the lane, but
I don't know how many free throws
going a half without a fucking free throw in the NBA.
Oh yeah, I don't know how many free throws they actually had in the series, but it couldn't be many.
Well, they went in game 4 or game 3 and game 4. They had one free throw attempt in the first half and 0 free throw attempts in the first half. Like, it's just like
that can't happen.
You're not going to win in the NBA doing that. You're not going to get, like you said, the 87-point output. That's how you end up with shit like that. Is you just you don't get the free buckets. That's just the way it is.
And I don't necessarily dislike him, but like I feel like you've got to at least take offers on Vooch. I mean, I don't know if he's the answer there.
Unfortunately, I don't know how much you're really going to get at this point.
Yeah. And I think Levine is up for a contract this summer. I'd have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure
he's going to want the max.
Yeah, and I mean, rightfully so. The guy can score, but I mean, at the end of the day, Zach LaVine, I mean, he's not a good defensive player. It's as simple as that. I mean, he has his flaws, and of course, everybody in the NBA gets.
That's where Lonzo helps, though, too. Is Lonzo's a great perimeter defender, and when you lose a guy like that, you lose a guy like Caruso, you lose a lot from that end of the floor, and you're not banking on LaVine to have to do that. You know what I mean? So there's give and take in the way the team's built, but when you start. I think that losing Ball was a killer to this team. It really was. I don't think you can oversell that.
The Bulls made some great moves last offseason. Let's hope they make some more great moves this offseason.
Wouldn't mind a guy who can defend in the paint either.
I will say there, and it's worked so far. In AK we trust. He's done it right so far. I think he sees the writing on the wall and got to make some moves here.
He's not blind.
Exactly. He sees the flaws. And we're still only year 2 full seasons into his tenure. So just wait and see what happens. The rest of the NBA playoffs, the Heat advance over the Hawks. The Hawks didn't look like they belonged at all outside of the one game. I mean, I know they kept it close in game 5, but Miami kind of overpowered there. Anything on the Heat? Do you guys like the Heat going forward?
I think they're going to be a team that could contend against the Bucks.
Yeah.
Because they play – who do they play?
They will get the 76ers or Raptors.
Okay. So they're going to – and then Boston and the Nets will play? And Boston and
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee will play?
Yep.
That's going to be – a very good series.
I agree. That might be the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, Boston sweeps Brooklyn and made them look silly.
I don't think the Heat will have much problem with most likely the 76ers because Embiid, he looks hurt. I hate to say that. He can't high five. But I would love for the 76ers to win. I don't really want the Heat to go on, but they look good. I mean, they played – I mean, you say what you want to say about Trae Young. He didn't play well because they played very good defense on him.
Yeah, there was a reason he didn't perform. Like we said, Boston sweeps Brooklyn. 76ers, like Zach mentioned, are kind of in a dogfight right now with the Raptors. We kind of thought the Raptors
who don't even have Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, we thought they were dead to rights. And, I mean, they're playing tonight in Toronto with a chance for the Raptors to push it to Game 7. I mean, and right now, looking at the odds, the 76ers are the favorite.
Where's James Harden? What is he doing? What are we talking about here?
It's being James Harden.
What is happening?
Same player he's always been.
Did he forget how to play basketball just because they took that rule away?
I think some people just like don't give a fuck really when it gets down to it.
And I think he's one of those guys.
Like, yeah. I just think some people are just like, whatever, man. I'm just done.
Yeah, he looks at his bank account and he's like, okay, well. The Raptors are putting up a fight, man. I was very surprised by this.
Scrappy ass team, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Siakam's playing well. I don't know if this series is
talking
over.
to Drake after the when they went up 3-0 too. It was like a sweep, and God, that's all you need to do is give Drake another win like that.
Seriously. Moving to the West, another team in a dogfight. The Suns are up 3-2 over New Orleans. Obviously, it's showing that with Booker being out, but Game 6 in New Orleans tonight. Phoenix 2.5-point favorite, but Maddie, you said it about the Raptors. This Pelicans team, you talk about scrappy. This Pelicans team is very similar to that. They're not giving up on anything. They're kind of doing with a ragtag group they've thrown together with McCollum, picked up this year, and I like what the Pelicans are doing. I'm not saying they're going to come back and win the series, but
it'd be really nice if they had Zion, huh?
Yeah, seriously, very weird situation there. Yeah. Do you guys think the Pelicans have it to be able to come back and take down the Suns?
I don't know if they do, but they have nothing to lose, and it's fun to watch.
I agree. It's a good series.
The blender is going to be crazy tonight.
Yes.
I love it. It's Smoothie. What is it?
Smoothie King.
And it's called the Blender. That's just awesome.
Yeah, I think they're a fun team. They're a fun story for sure. I think Phoenix is they're a really, really, really damn good team, man. Like, even without Booker, they just have guys that just know how to play in the NBA. Between Chris Paul running the show and Ayton, and you got Cam Johnson that's a good contributor, and Cam Payne, like what the fuck?
Yeah,
he was a
Cam Payne,
unbelievable. It's just like one of those teams that they just find a way to win, it seems like. And there is, talk that Booker may be back for Game 6, at least.
That's what I was going to say.
Minutes too. So that's going to be interesting to see too. But
I heard reports that after his shoot around before the last game, he said, "I'm back."
Yeah, well, it's a tough injury to bounce back from, but it wouldn't shock me.
Also in the West, we've got the Mavericks and the Jazz. Mavs are up 3-2. They play the late game tonight in Utah. Utah 1-point favorite. I don't think it matters who wins this series. I don't think either team is getting out of the second round. But again, I mean, the fact is, I just love good series that go 6 or 7 games, and we're getting a lot of that.
I'm so over the Jazz.
I think the Jazz are over the Jazz.
I was just going to say that.
It's just
they fucking hate each other, dude.
Oh yeah.
It's wild. Really. It's not like they don't hide it. It's fucking very weird.
That very awkward moment when I think it was Donovan Mitchell threw an alley-oop to Rudy Gobert, and they had this fake look, we're buddies now moment, but it was just that was very, very strange. Probably or actually, as we're recording right now, we've got Denver and the Warriors. Denver is up 60-54 as we record, but the Warriors, I still think, are going to take this series now. Excuse me. If Denver wins tonight, you're pushing it to Game 6. You're going back to Denver. I mean, anything can happen, but again, we're getting a good series here. With a scrappy Denver team that's obviously down players, and Golden State, who's still kind of mending from a lot of those injuries. We're getting a good series out there. And then, of course, probably the best series of the playoffs, we've got Memphis and we've got Minnesota. They play Friday night with the Grizzlies up 3-2. So the West has been really, really fun so far.
Yeah, it's a lot more exciting than the East. The East has
parity in the NBA is a good
one
thing.
Good series against a team that has an injury, and then the other team has an injury. And then the West has saved the playoffs.
100%. That's for sure. When all of those series are going 6 minimum, and probably a few of those going 7, that's what the NBA playoff first round's all about, man. Couldn't agree more. You guys still like your picks coming out of the West?
Yeah,
I don't remember mine. think I had Celtics, right?
Of the West?
Oh, the West. Sorry. Who did I think the Warriors? Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think
I'm
that's
very
right,
confident in that still.
Yeah, I think the Suns. I think if the Suns can escape out of this and they get Booker back, I think you're still going to see Suns Warriors, and I still like Milwaukee. Milwaukee's so good even without Middleton. I don't care.
The Suns and Warriors, I think, are really just playing at a different level compared to what anybody else is as a team.
Definitely. Speaking of teams not playing at the opposite of a good level, the Blackhawks, they do pick up a win on Wednesday night, 28-42-11. They got one game left. Maddie, anything we're looking forward to in the Blackhawks finale other than the fact that the season's finally over?
Look forward to the Ice Hogs. The Ice Hogs are in the playoffs.
Just
that
the
is
off
true.
chance that they finish first or second in the lottery. That's all I can hope for at this point, because then they get the first rounder. But
that's fair.
We'll see.
That's always an exciting thing to look forward to.
Yeah, right? It's frustrating. It sucks.
It's not fun.
Always not fun when that's the the big one. But moving into baseball,
team, real quick. I'm sorry, but for a team that
nope, you're good, man.
So many years, they were just so fucking good.
They had a dynasty.
You could count on them night in, night out, and it just sucks. So I'm sorry to cut you off, Boomy. I just had to. It's just depressing. Good. It makes me really upset.
It is.
That is very true. We've gone. For 6 years or so, you were like, "Oh, this team is just going to win."
Slam dunk. They were a slam dunk to be a contender for a ring every year, and I want that back. It was fun.
The good old days. Not very, the good days right now. Like we said earlier with Zach's sinker, Cubs sitting at 8-10. They do pick up a win Wednesday night in extras over the Braves. 8-10. It could be worse, but I think if we're being realistic about this team, I mean, right around 500 is kind of where I was hoping they would be. And they pick up. Sucks they had to push to extras, but a win's a win. And
Suzuki looks amazing.
I agree. And our guy, Michael Hermosillo, had a tough one. Beautiful play in center, and then Butchers won. But, everybody keeps piling on Michael Hermosillo, and that's fair. Whatever. But the guy has gotten less than 25 at-bats this whole season, and it's almost May.
It's baseball. We need more at-bats.
Get the guy on the field. Like, Jason Hayward, okay, it was great. Like, he was one of the, key cogs in getting the World Series. Jason Hayward's not good. And he's near the end of his career, or at least the end of his time with the Cubs. So we're still trotting him out to center field every day to watch him, at best 1 for 4. And it's like,
the other
somebody a shot?
Michael Hermosillo is not being paid to be a fucking scapegoat either. So let's just also count on him. Putting that kind of, blame on a guy like that, that's a problem. That's not fair to him. It's not fair to the team. It's not fair to the leaders on that team who deserve a hell of a lot more blame than they're getting.
Exactly.
They should be better than 8-10. They've played better than 8-10. Like Zach said, Suzuki's been a great player. They've gotten good. Wisdom's kind of started to turn it around finally a little bit after a little slow first week and a half. And, Contreras has been outstanding in my opinion. They don't have the pitching. The pitching's going to be the fucking problem. Let's not kid ourselves. These guys can scrap hits. Hermosillo is a good defensive player, I think, for what he's going to bring. He's a solid hitter. He's obviously proven, everywhere else he's played, he's produced hitting. He's been a good hitter. So I think you need to give him, more at bats, like you said. What's Hayward giving this team? I like the guy. He's a nice guy. Let these young guys get some playing time and see what the fuck they're going to give you, man.
Yeah.
Give them a leash. That's why you got what you got from Schwindel last year, because you gave him a leash. You let him play. You know what I mean? Let these guys make their mistakes. Let Frazier, when he gets back, let him play. Let him make a mistake here and there, and give him some rope. It's nuts. Absolutely. You're not going to win a World Series this year. Let these guys get better.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more, Maddie. The White Sox, on the other hand, snapped, what was it, Zach, an 8-game losing streak? Is that what you said?
I'm pretty sure it was an 8-game losing streak.
Yep. Snapped that on Wednesday. No longer. 7-3 victory and covered the over, may I add. Thank you for that one. But you know what? This team is banged up. I think that they've clearly underperformed, but they're at 7-10. Cubs do have a better record than the White Sox. I just wanted to point that out real quick. But
lost 8 in a row, huh?
But the coach is not helping at all either.
No. Why? I know we might have talked about this already, but why are they pitching to Byron Buxton with a base open?
No idea.
In the ninth, what are you doing, Tony La Russa? And he could say, "Oh, well, that was an option." Yeah, that was clearly the smarter option. Yeah, you roll of the dice in baseball, but like a guy like Byron Buxton, who has been as hot as he is at home in extras with a base open, dude, little league coaches know to put that guy on. What are you doing? Like, Tony La Russa has always been what he is. It's just dumb. Like, just. You're throwing out away wins because you're just trying to be hard-headed. But
Carlos
I still think the Whites. Yeah, seriously. I mean, he is shoving in San Francisco right now, and obviously the White Sox are getting with the injury bug. But I don't know about you guys.
I don't like to see the injury bug, but you know what? Like, at some point, why do they keep blowing out hammies? Why do they keep having the same fucking injuries? Like, I don't know. It's weird. It's very odd.
How many times do we have to talk about Eloy playing the outfield?
Yeah, this one wasn't at least playing the outfield, though. But was he running to first?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Like, but still, there's no reason.
I don't know. It's what happens, it seems like, when teams like just come in with these pre-planned expectations that they're just going to walk through their division and fucking roll to a World Series and, face the Dodgers and hopefully, they get the better end of a 7-game series. It's all you fucking heard. And it's like they just expected everybody to lay down for them because they have all this talent. And it's like, yeah, well, it's not how it's going to work.
Exactly. And like you said, like the division is never won in April and May, but like you can find yourself in a hole.
You could dig a hole. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Zach, do you think the White Sox still got what it takes to win this division? I mean,
oh yeah, the division's not very good either.
Yeah,
I think it's way too early to be saying stuff like that. When they get Eloy back, they'll get Robert back. You just kind of have to wait it out. Did Eloy have surgery?
Yeah,
that just randomly popped up today.
I thought so too. I got that notification. I was like, I didn't know this was 6 to 8 weeks. You can come back from a minor surgery.
Well, yeah, but I just didn't realize that.
Yeah, Zach, you make a really good point because the leader in the AL Central right now is 10-8.
Yeah, it's not a great division.
Yeah, I think the White Sox. So, Zach, put yourself in the shoes where you were a White Sox fan. I know you're not. You're not hitting that panic button, is what you're saying.
Oh no, but Matt, if I was a White Sox fan, I probably would be.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I'm crazy.
Maybe not. I wouldn't say I'd be hitting the panic button, but I'd have some fucking concern just with the way it's looked.
Yeah,
it's not. They've got flaws. It's not like it's a flawless team that has no warts. So at some point, you got to start. You got to have a little concern, I think. But they do have a lot of talent, and the division's not outstanding. But
for sure, the Giants. I mean, they come out they're 13-5 right now. I'll be honest. If you asked me, a month and a half ago, which team was going to be 13-5 in a divisional lead, I probably would have guessed the White Sox. So, you got to you steer the ship quick.
Well, you got the Mets are awesome. Mets have been playing really good so
Dodgers,
far. Dodgers are great. It's going to be. There's some really, really good teams. It's a lot of really good and a lot of really bad.
Yep. That's baseball, baby. But before we move on, we have to give a big thank you to our sponsor, Connect Roasters Coffee. They have the best coffee around that you can find. Take that coming from me, who is not a coffee guy, who's becoming one. It is incredible coffee. They work with our guy, Dom Frederick, Ian Happ. It's good stuff. Those guys aren't going to promote bad coffee. Zach loves it. Zach's mom loves it. Everybody I know that drinks it loves it. Make sure to check out their website, connectroasters.com. Follow them on Twitter @ConnectRoasters and join the Home Run Club. So every time Ian Happ hits a home run, you will earn some dinger dollars. So make sure that you head to connectroasters.com and join the Home Run Club. So thank you to our sponsor, Connect Roasters Coffee. Make sure you check them out. Let's move in. The NFL draft starts today. And of course, we had to bring our guy, our football insider Bobby Wilson from the TNT College Football Podcast on. So let's go ahead and throw it to our interview with Bobby Wilson of the TNT College Football Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a returning guest to welcome to the podcast for a deep dive into the 2022 NFL Draft this coming weekend. This guy has forgotten more about college football than most of us know. He is the host of the TNT College Football Podcast. I got the shirt on right now, which can be found on Facebook with that name. You can find him on Twitter at TNT College Foot 1. His personal page at Coach B_B Will. Ladies and gentlemen, our own football guy, Bobby Wilson. Bobby, how are you, my man?
Great, guys. Thank you so much for having me back on. Super excited to talk about the draft. I'm super pumped for the draft this year just because I know so much about the guys that are going to be in it this year. So it's fired up about it.
I was telling you before the podcast that I speak for myself. I don't know much about anything going on in this draft. So like whatever information you give me is what I'll know.
Hey, there's a lot of people saying that this draft isn't very good. And I mean, from a top flight perspective, that it doesn't have maybe the big name guys. And then the quarterback class isn't as great as it usually is, but there's still a lot of really talented guys out there.
We need guys like you to keep this kind of stuff going at this kind of with a year like this. But I've heard this year is not a good draft. How does this draft rank compared to previous years?
Well, kind of like I said with the quarterback class, it's not as good on paper as years past. I mean, you look at some of the guys there, and if you're asking me to be completely honest about that, I personally think that the top quarterback in this class realistically is a second round pick. Obviously, that's not going to happen. One of them will go top 10, I'm sure, just because somebody needs a quarterback. But it's definitely not at the level from the quarterback position as years prior, but there's some really good positions that are pretty loaded. The edge rushers got some really talented guys, top to bottom. Offensive tackles got some really good guys, and then the top 15 wide receivers, I think they're top-notch guys. I mean, you can go down the line 1 through 15, and you're going to get a guy who can really do some stuff for you.
Oh, for sure. I think that we'll get a little deeper into positions here in a couple questions, but we got to start off at the top, Bobby. The Jags have claimed that they have 4 possible players they're going to take at number 1. Do you buy that, or is it like a foregone conclusion that Aiden Hutchinson is going to go number 1? What do you think about that big number 1 spot, with obviously it being not as deep at the quarterback position as it normally is?
If you're asking me, Jacksonville, in my opinion, should take an offensive lineman. You take Trevor Lawrence. You take Trevor Lawrence, and he's your guy. I mean, you gotta build around that. Now they've spent a good amount of money in free agency this offseason, and they franchise tagged their offensive tackle. But if I were them, I would take Evan Neal from Alabama. But I personally think they are going to go Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. There's talks recently from a lot of people that I've come in contact with that Travon Walker from Georgia is somebody that they're really, really high on as well, and that the GM is super, super high on him, while the owner wants Aiden Hutchinson. So I think there's that battle kind of going on right now between – I think it's going to end up being Walker or Hutchinson. If you're looking at the two of those guys, I think Hutchinson you got to take.
Okay.
But why do you think they are going to take him over the player that you think that they should take?
I think that I think for one, the spending that they've done in the offseason, adding some pieces to their offensive line, I think that they feel comfortable where they're at in that position, where they necessarily don't need to take one of the top tackles. The top 3 tackles in this draft, talented guys, but I think the opportunity to get Aiden Hutchinson, to me, he kind of plays like Jared Allen. He's a really good culture fit, and his motor is super, super high. So I think you're just getting a guy who's just gonna, 1, play his butt off, and 2, he can fit into any scheme.
I don't hate that.
I don't hate that at all. Who is the best quarterback in your opinion in this draft?
Yeah, you said he's a second-round guy. So who's the best quarterback out there, man?
Who's going in the second round? Because would that be the first time maybe ever that a quarterback didn't go in the first round?
Oh, absolutely. That would absolutely be the case. But
I didn't know.
I've gone back and forth on this with a couple different guys, but the guy that I think has the best potential, especially with the way the NFL is turning now, is Malik Willis from Liberty. I just feel with the way the NFL is going, with a lot of these quarterbacks being more mobile and being able to do things besides passing the ball, I think he brings the most upside. If you ask me who's the most ready to step in and play right away, it's probably Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. But, I mean, obviously none of these guys are going to get drafted and start right away. I mean, they're just not ready. Somebody I'm really high on that a lot of people aren't talking as much about, and Chance, you'll like this, being a Matt guy, is Caleb Elby from Western Michigan. I've seen him in person this past year, and he's a really dynamic quarterback. He can do some things with his feet. He's got a really strong arm. Really drops the ball in there really well. So somebody in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round is going to get a guy there who could grow into something.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Coming out of, like you said, someone takes a later round, maybe even later than that. Maybe you see him slip with the depth of the other positions, and see a guy like him, 4, 5, 6 round and get his chance here in a couple years. They had a really solid season.
How many rounds are there in the NFL draft?
7.
7. Yep.
So
there used to be like 22 or 23, I think.
Yeah, that thing was ridiculous.
So how does this work out? Does it go the first day is just 1?
Yeah.
And the second day is
2nd and 3rd.
3.
Yep.
And then 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
Bobby, do you miss those days when they did was it the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round on Saturday, and then 4, 5, 6, 7 on Sunday? Is that what it used to be? I think that's what it used to be.
That'd be awesome if that's whatever you're saying, but that'd be awesome.
Well, I feel like they used to do it all in one, but I could be wrong there.
See, I remember it was the Reggie Bush draft. I think it was 2000.
No, you're right. You're right. It was 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Yeah. 1st, 2nd, 3rd was Saturdays, and then Sunday was 4 through 7. Yep.
Yeah, and the only reason I remember is because I was playing freshman baseball. My dad was the coach, and we had a radio up in the announcer's booth, and we kept like sending somebody up there because we had the ESPN radio on, and we kept sending like one of the guys on the bench up to the announcer's booth to like relay the picks from the announcer's booth down. And my dad found out what we were doing and got very, very not happy with us because we were losing the game. So I always remember that that old question. But no, so Zach asked about the best quarterback here. What do you think is the deepest position in this draft? You said edge rushers earlier. There's some good wide receivers. Which one's the deepest in this year's draft?
I would say the deepest is wide receiver this year, just because, like I kind of said, the top 14, 15 guys at receiver this year it's stacked. There's some really, really talented guys. I mean, you can go on and on with some of these guys. And, my favorite personally is a guy who didn't even finish the season. Drake London from USC is the guy that I personally think is the top wide receiver in in this class. He didn't finish the season. He was hurt, but to me, he looks and plays like Mike Evans because he's long, lengthy, got great hands, just looks the part and plays the part. Then the next two guys, the two guys from Ohio State, and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Chris Olave he catches everything. I mean, it's as much as I don't like Ohio State. I mean, that guy just catches everything. Then there's some talented guys out of the SEC, of course. I mean, we all know that. But I think two guys to look at that, or three guys, I'll say, to look at that maybe not as many people are thinking of, are North Dakota State's Christian Watson. He is a speed demon. Somebody at the end of the first round, early second round, is going to get a guy who just is going to burn everybody. Then
definitely.
One of the other guys I'm really high on is Skye Moore out of Western Michigan. He's another guy that just pops off the charts with his numbers and everything. And then another guy from a G5 school, Jalen Tolbert from South Alabama. He's a deep threat, and somebody could snag him in the third or fourth round and get somebody who can really do some things. And he kind of reminds me like when Kenny Galladay came into the Lions right away, and they used him just as a deep threat his first year. And I kind of see that as his role, and as he develops.
Hey, that's a solid comp there. I like that.
That'd be awesome for him.
Yes.
Do you foresee a lot of draft day trades or no?
I always feel like it's really hard to gauge that. I do feel one team in particular that I think is definitely going to be trading.
The Browns? Oh,
the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, are going to be trading because they have 12 draft picks and they don't need 12 rookies on that roster. So I personally think that they have 29 and 30 in the first round. I personally think they're going to trade up and try to get one of the top name wide receivers after getting rid of Tyreek Hill. And that one to me kind of sticks out. And then I can see the Green Bay Packers trading up as well. Just
packaging those two first.
Yeah, because obviously they need a big play wide receiver. And
yeah.
I mean, I think Drake London would be perfect in that situation.
I like him or Olave. I would kill for either of those two.
Absolutely. I mean, I would hate to see it, but I mean, it only makes sense for them to do that. But
do you have any? Do you think that Debo will be traded on draft night at some point?
I've gone back and forth on this one too. I'm a diehard Detroit Lions fan. Chance, you know that. Right. It's a curse. It's a curse, but there's nothing. I'm super passionate about college football, but there's nothing I'm more passionate about than the Detroit Lions, unfortunately. But I've gone back and forth talking to some different Lions people and fans and stuff, and saying, should we trade maybe the 32nd pick or the 34th pick for Deebo Samuels because we need a wide receiver as well. And I just don't know. I don't know if that's too much to give up, or I don't know if San Francisco is going to want more. I
feel like they would want more.
Well, not even that. Like, especially where Detroit's at with the rebuild. Like, you don't mortgage. Like, you've got to keep those picks for building. I mean, granted, Jared Goff's not the guy for the future, but when you have a guy or a coach entering his second year, you don't want to be, selling the franchise for the future of the franchise for a guy.
What is the Detroit Lions first round pick?
We have the second pick, and we have 32nd. We have the Rams pick as well at 32.
That's right.
Imagine having that.
Zach, you wouldn't know much about that this year anyway.
Yeah, I don't know about a first round pick. I don't know about a first round pick. My team doesn't understand that. They trade away picks like that for players they don't even have anymore.
that burns a little bit, but obviously
I don't care.
Not salty about it at all, are you, Zach?
Okay.
Speaking of those Bears, what would you say, Bobby, are the biggest needs that the Bears need to address going into this draft, especially being, the depth that is in this draft at the defensive end position, the wide receiver position? Where do you think the Bears need to go? Obviously, 2 second-round picks. What are some directions you think that they need to go with this year?
Other than everything.
I was just going to say that. I'm going to try to be not as condescending as I possibly can, but no. In all honesty, though, I mean, I really feel they need to upgrade the offensive line.
Broken record there.
Poor Justin Fields was just, I mean, he was running for his life, and I personally think, I didn't think this last year when he was drafted. I thought he was going to be a bust, but watching him play this year, I really think that he has the tools to be successful.
If you watch that Pittsburgh game, game when they play against the Steelers, I mean, he was making throws that's what a good quarterback do. I'm not saying that everything was like what game was it? He had one of the worst offensive performances maybe of all time, combined with just bad coaching, I would have to say.
Right. Yes, absolutely. But I think that the Bears, with that early pick, should go offensive tackle with the first second-round pick that they have. And I think that they need to try. I mean, maybe Trevor Penning from North into the early second round there. I don't think he will. I think he's going to be a first-round pick for sure. But then Bernhard Raimann from Central Michigan, who Central Michigan actually has 2 tackles that are going to be drafted this year that they had a really, really good running game this year. They had the running back led the nation in rushing this year. So, I mean, you're getting their offensive line had some really talented guys on it. So I think that's a guy that the Bears should really look at right there. And then with that second round pick, you could start to then look at wide receiver because that's so deep there, or the many other defensive holes that they could fill. I think one guy that they can look at with the second round pick, if he's still available, is somebody that I've watched probably more than any college football fan, is because I have a partnership with the University of Connecticut, is Travis Jones from Uconn. Now, I know people are going to hear that and be like, Uconn is awful, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This young man, if he was at Alabama or Clemson, would be a top 10 pick in the draft. But he was at Uconn and goes to the Senior Bowl. And when he's at the Senior Bowl, he blows up because everybody finally sees, like, oh, this guy can really play.
Most people aren't sitting watching UConn and UMass duke it out in week 7,
Absolutely. And I don't blame them.
That's how they torture prisoners at Guantanamo Bay, is they make them watch that game.
Now I will say, side note, that UConn is changing things, and it's going to be a lot better.
Twitter, things are looking up there. But so Bears fans, when the Bears get a chance to take a kid out of UConn, and you want to say, who the hell is this guy? You've heard it here first that it's not as bad of a pick as you may sound.
Be alarmed.
No, Travis Jones can play. Yes, he can play. And I think another guy, if the Bears wait to draft an offensive tackle until maybe the 3rd or 4th round, I think a guy to really look at is Daniel Falale from Minnesota. Mm-hmm. He's 6'8", and he came into Minnesota. He was over 400 pounds, and now he's down to about 380. He's a massive human being. I mean, he can.
Yeah.
But I mean, he can.
It's humongous.
He can move. He scored a touchdown. He scored a touchdown rushing the ball during the season, or in the bowl game, I should say. So I mean, he's nimble. I mean, yes, he's huge, but I mean, he can move.
380.
For 380, he can move.
So Bobby, you're a big draft guy. How many guys you just see that are just 300 and plus? So you're just like, I cannot believe how athletic they are.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean,
isn't that crazy to see like a guy who's over 300 pounds move like that?
Well, it's like Jordan Davis from Georgia, the defensive tackle. I mean, he ran his 40 at the combine. I want to say it was like 4.8 or something like. Which, I mean, he's like 300. He's a 350-pound man. Like that's not supposed to happen. I mean,
that kind of stuff fascinates me. Like even like, let's say I'm a Bears fan, Brian Urlacher, a guy his size that can move that fast.
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
a linebacker that size that can move that fast is just, it's crazy to me.
But it's also like crazy in the same sense of how far it's come in the last
so much in
10
the NFL.
Years.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
very true.
We're going to be having the same conversation in 10 years and be like, we're going to be talking about 400 pounds and how they're running 4.8. Like,
it's going to be
right.
Crazy. Are there any names that may slide out of the first round that may be available for the Bears in the second round?
Come on, Bobby, give us something juicy here. Somebody that was like,
something good, something that on draft night we can cut up and say, hey, our guy Bobby, he called it.
Well, I think I just gave you the two number one guys that if they fall to the Bears, Trevor Penning, offensive tackle from Northern Iowa, and then Travis Jones, defensive tackle from I think if they fall, the Bears absolutely have to pick them. Or if Treylon Burks, wide receiver from Arkansas, falls, I think that he then would be somebody that they would have to take at that position because, I mean, his size and speed at receiver is going to translate. Those would be the three guys in particular that I think of real quickly that if they're there, the Bears need to gobble them up. But the first one I would take is Penning, the tackle, because I feel like that's the number one need for the Bears.
Bobby, I know you're a Lions fan, Chance is a Packers fan, but how many years can we go in a draft where they go, the offensive line is what they need? I mean, I swear to God, it's been 5 years in a row.
Oh, it feels like more than that.
Well, I think
you know what I mean? It's just like every year it's like, oh, they need a tackle. Oh, they need an offensive tackle. They need a right tackle. They need this and that. It's like, well, when are we going to figure this out?
Well, here's how you figure it out. You fire the GM.
We did that.
Right. So you guys did that. It's the same thing we needed to do as the Detroit Lions. We had to do the same thing, and now we're heading in the right direction.
Bobby, you know what? We can't all get lucky and have two generational quarterbacks that only win us one Super Bowl each. So, you know what I mean? We can't all get that lucky.
Right.
Two more than you dorks have seen.
Hey, 1957, man.
Wait. How old were you when they won the first one?
7.
7, you don't remember that.
Yes, I do. I watched it at your house, actually.
I was 2 years old when the Lions won their only playoff game.
Yeah, you should probably just not tell people that.
I know.
Zach was -10 when the Bears last won the Super Bowl.
It's 85, yeah. You know.
I was -4.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. But like, okay, so obviously all the needs that the Bears have. Do you think that they're going to package maybe these 2 second-round picks and move into the first? Is that a remote possibility you think that they might do, or are they to the point where you're rebuilding, you're looking at the future with the new GM and the new coach? Do you not even look at something like that if you're Ryan Poles?
I mean, obviously, if something presents itself, you obviously jump on it, but I don't think they're going to be able to get to the position that they would need to get to get one of the that I think that they need. Like, I'm just going off the offensive tackle position, for example. Like, the top 3 guys are top 15 picks. And you're not going to package 2 second rounders to move in the top 15. Now, maybe they could move into the late 20s to get somebody. That's a possibility. Or the early to mid 20s to get somebody. That could be a possibility. But I just don't see him doing it.
Okay.
Let's go around the division. Do you truly see the Packers trading their first-round picks for any big-name receivers?
I don't see them trading it for a big name receiver who is currently in the NFL. However, I do see them trading up. I really firmly believe that they're going to trade up and try to get Drake London from USC. I think if you put him in that offense, the sky's the limit. I mean, Drake London to me has the potential to be like, obviously I don't want to say like a generational type receiver, but I think he has the potential to be a top high end wide receiver for many years. And obviously Aaron Rodgers and the Packers just lost that guy that they had. So I think adding the next best that they can get at that position is going to be huge for them. I also think that there's a possibility they could go get somebody in free agency as well, but because there's still plenty of guys out there. But
my only worry about that, my only rebuttal to that would be is with Aaron Rodgers nearing the end of his career, I don't 100% know if he's willing to say, okay, go take a kid out of USC who's 21, and by the time he's reached his peak, I'll be gone. Now, obviously, for the future of the Packers.
You know what? Tom Brady would do that. Tom Brady would do that.
I agree. He knows
that's what the greater team wants. But a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he's kind of selfish in that kind of way. I'm just like where he just thinking about the now. He's thinking about the now.
I mean, he's got 4 years. He's got 4 years to finish. That's what it's on his. I don't know if he'll be in Green Bay all 4 of those.
I'm just saying. It sounds kind of selfish to me.
Oh, really? Tom Brady going and getting Randy Moss and all these other guys at the end of their career wasn't anything selfish from Tom Brady?
No.
It's a bad comp. But I don't know. That's just the way I look at it. I would love for the future of the Packers for them to go get London.
As an owner, Boomy says it.
That's true. I forgot my owner's hat upstairs. But the future of it, obviously, but like I don't know, where he sits with this because there's been, rumors. Yeah, obviously we talked about Deebo Samuel, but AJ Brown,
right.
A bunch of other big name guys. Yeah. But I'll be honest, I think I'd rather have a kid and get the production like you saw. A lot of these rookies come out and be very Jalen Waddle. I mean, Devontae Smith.
Bobby, I'm sorry. I don't want to cut through this, but you just said some pretty good wide receivers' names or whatever. Why would you trade away Devontae Adams? What are we talking about? We're talking about you getting like, I want Deebo, I want this, I want that. But we traded Devontae Adams.
You don't understand economics. That was a business decision.
It was it was completely business. I think that. I think it got to the point crazy. Though where
that's crazy.
I think it got to the point too where Devontae Adams didn't necessarily want to be there anymore.
Who would want to be in the Packers? Who would want to be in that organization?
Literally anybody on the Bears would want to be on the Packers.
No,
because they win.
Justin Fields wants to be on the Bears, not the Packers.
No, he doesn't. He's there because he has to. He's legally bound to be Bobby.
There. I don't mean to be a troll. I'm just trolling him right now because it's fun.
Hey, I do it too.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Me and Bobby have a thing in common. It's we don't like the Packers.
This is true.
But obviously, you guys in Detroit have a lot of needs. Where do you see? We kind of tease this, with the rebuild and everything. The Lions got the 2 pick. What are the Lions going to do in this draft? Are they still aiming for the future? Are you going to start packaging guys? Where do you think the Lions are going here in 2022?
Okay, I'm going to try. Obviously, going to try to be as unbiased as I can here. With
you can be biased here. We're very biased. Biased podcasters.
I firmly believe that the Lions aren't as far off as people think. Now, granted, the beginning of the season was rough, but towards the end of the season, when Goff was healthy, they were able to put some stuff together, and they looked like a football team.
But what do you think Jared Goff can be as a quarterback? What do you think his peak is? Was his peak the Super Bowl? or is his peak still down the road?
The wild card round.
I don't think
no. You know what I mean, though. I'm
asking,
right. Do you think his best is still yet to come, or do you think he already had his best game?
I don't want to say that his peak is still coming, because the supporting cast he had around him in Detroit last year was the youngest in the NFL. Like every guy on the Lions roster basically was younger than I am. I'm 32, and I think last I heard at the end of the season, they only had 2 guys that were older than 32 years old on the roster.
Oh my gosh!
So I mean, so I don't want to sit there and say like Jared Goff can't take them to where I would like them to get to. Now, granted, I just want them to get to the playoffs, for goodness sake. That's all I want.
Yeah.
But to answer the question of when it comes to that is, I don't feel like Detroit needs a quarterback as much as people think they do, especially with this draft class being as weak as it is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So for this year, Jared Goff's contract, at the end of next year, we're able to cut him, and he's no cap hit at that point. So we still have our own pick next year and the Rams pick next year, and next year's quarterback class is going to be amazing with Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. You can go on and on. It's going to be amazing. This conversation we have next year is going to be completely different for quarterbacks.
Very true. Very true.
But so, I mean, and Brad Holmes, the Lions GM, has been a huge Jared Goff supporter. He was part of the staff that drafted him with the Rams, and they was a part of that. So, and he's come out and said in many interviews that he is supportive of Goff and wants him to be there. And I mean, I understand he has to say that stuff because he's the quarterback currently. I mean, he's not just going to sit there and say he sucks. But no, but
it would be hilarious if he did, though.
That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing if
we're gonna cut it through this year, but just know our quarterback's not very good.
Imagine, yeah.
I would respect
that would be
so much.
That would be amazing.
They're like, what's your biggest concern in the draft? Oh, quarterback, because our quarterback sucks.
That would be incredible.
That would be amazing if somebody did that. That'd be great. But to get back to what the Lions need or what they're going to do, I've gained some insight from somebody that is very credible in our industry and what we do. And
I like to hear that, Bobby.
This individual told me that the Lions have guaranteed Kayvon Thibodeau that they are going to take him at number 2.
That's what I like to hear.
Now, obviously, this is professional sports and anything can happen. I personally think if Jacksonville doesn't take Aiden Hutchinson, that the Lions need to take Aiden Hutchinson because he's a perfect culture fit with what Dan Campbell's doing.
And being a Michigan guy.
Absolutely.
I would say that
he's from Michigan.
It's more on the Lions.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. He'd be unbelievable if that was able.
I'd rather him not be on the Lions, but
no, he's a Michigan kid. He's from Michigan. He's from Saline. I mean, he would.
Bears fan, I do not want to see that because he will be sacking Justin Fields probably at some point.
Absolutely. Now, I do think Jacksonville is going to take him. So the reason that this whole Kayvon Thibodeau thing comes about is the Lions sent 7 people to his pro day at Oregon. Brad Holmes, Chris Spielman, Dan Campbell. I mean, big name guys that are going.
Can I ask you a question, Bobby? I'm sorry, but 7 people? What is 7 people needed for?
Apparently, they want to get it right.
7 guys doing that 2 guys couldn't.
I don't mean to be rude.
Well,
like, why can't
I agree.
1 or 2, 3, maybe 2 or 3 people? 7. We're gonna go. Hey, this guy is so good. We need fucking 10 people to go see him play. What? Like, the more eyes, the better.
I mean, I agree with you. I don't understand why you would send 7 people, but that's what they did. And there were photos and some video of like Kayvon Thibodeau was in the end zone with his shirt off and like giving Brad Holmes a hug and like just.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like they're boys already. It seemed like. But
give me that bag. Give me the bag.
But the number one thing that came that this is credible in my opinion is at the combine, Kayvon Thibodeau showed up. He was going to perform and do everything. He runs his 40 time, and then just leaves. Just says, "Hey, I'm done." And allegedly, what happened at the combine was Brad Holmes, the Lions GM, said, "Hey, we're going to take you." So once he heard that, he's like, "Hey, I'm done. I don't want to risk hurting myself," and he left. I
respect it.
That's what I've been told.
I respect that.
By somebody that I personally respect and agree.
Hey,
I would agree with.
That's not a bad thing because 9 months ago, everybody said that Thibodeau was the foregone conclusion to be the number 1 overall pick. And obviously he didn't have a great season at Oregon. Tom Thibodeau is going to go play defensive end for the Lions. I would pay so much money to see that. Oh,
I would not.
God, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, it would be hilarious. It would be hilarious.
But right, if that was my team, I agree.
I agree because like at the beginning of the year, like everybody's like it's Kayvon Thibodeau and everybody knows it, and he like the first handful of games he looked unstoppable. I mean he came back and played in the Cal game because he was injured for the Ohio State game. He was injured at the beginning of the year. First game back, he plays at home against Cal on a Friday night, and I watched this game on TV, and he had like it was something ridiculous. Don't quote me on the exact number, but it was like 17 pressures or like I mean it was something.
Kid is a freak.
It was in the teens. I know that much. I mean, he's a freak. Obviously, there's questions on maybe his work ethic or whatever it may be. Like if he's gonna, when he gets paid, if he's gonna want it as much. But to me, worst case, he's Davion Clowney. He's an athletic freak who can do so many things. I mean, Davion Clowney didn't necessarily live up to the hype that was put on him, but he still has had a great career.
Bobby, as you love the draft or whatever, do you think Davion Clowney exceeded his expectations, or do you think it was below expectations?
Oh, below. I mean, when he was in high school,
I would have to think it was below. I mean, when
he was in high school and in South Carolina, I mean, he was an unstoppable force.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I'll never forget the play that he made in the Outback Bowl against Michigan. There was a penalty called.
That was insane.
Yes, there was a penalty called against him, and he absolutely disagreed with the penalty. So he turns around in the very next play and about decapitated Denard Robinson and the running back.
His helmet went.
Yes, I mean Davion Clowney when he was in high school and at the University of South Carolina was just, I mean, he was like LeBron James of that level of like he had that potential. He had that type of potential.
I mean,
Bobby,
that one play is played over and over and over in some places.
Not even that, Bobby. Obviously, you follow like a lot of the recruitment and stuff. He was, I want to say, even to this day, the highest rated recruit ever on like 24/7 Sports or Rivals or one of those two.
Yes.
Yep.
Him, I think he was 1 and Von Miller was 2.
Yeah,
if you could have had a 7, 8 star. He was the 8 star.
Yeah,
he was that absolutely. And I remember watching a couple of his high school games on TV and just looking and just being like, this wasn't even fair.
Yeah,
and it's in South Carolina, so the teams that he's good. It's not like he's playing against slouch opponents.
But
in the South,
he's like twice.
I mean, he was a grown man.
He's twice his size.
That's exactly.
It's
right.
It's like that guy is that age. He shouldn't be that big or that strong or that like just pure athlete. But then it seemed like it caught up to him.
Well, he got injured a lot.
No, so I know what you mean. But then everyone else was also pretty.
Yeah, everybody else in the NFL is very big and very strong.
Like, it's one of those things like before he went to the league, it was like he was a freak of nature.
Yeah.
Like you haven't seen something like that before.
Exactly. That's what I remember about him too. Like you said, the highest rated recruit ever, and like obviously the play at Michigan, and he still had a really productive career. So
that's one of those guys though that needs to be respected more. Like Davion Clowney should be respected more because he may have not lived up to the expectations of whatever, but like he is still one of those guys in college that was maybe one of the best of all times in college.
I mean, I agree with you. I think Davion Clowney from when he was at the college level, I mean, he was just an absolute freak of nature, just an unstoppable force. And I remember when he was there, obviously you got to be 3 years removed from high school. And after his second year, he actually took out a insurance policy to protect himself in case he was injured, to make sure that he still made the millions that he deserved to make at that point. And I mean, he's done that obviously as a football player, but I mean, he was that level of athlete that he was able to do that.
Dude, Davion Clowney is the type of athlete that like you would have wondered like what he could have made in the NIL deal. Like he could have made.
Oh my goodness!
Made South Carolina relevant.
Oh yeah, especially after that deal.
Yeah.
But we all know the struggles that the Vikings have as quarterback. Yeah, Kirk Cousins not very good. Do you think the Minnesota Vikings will take a quarterback? Or what are some other needs that you think they need to address?
Well, I'll first lead off with, if you look up mediocre in the dictionary, Kirk Cousins' picture is going to be there.
Yeah,
I love
truth.
Because he stinks.
Yes. But to be honest with you, they drafted Kellen Mond last year out of Texas A&M, and I've always been a fan of his. And I really feel, given an opportunity, that he could do some things. But time will tell with that. But realistically, the Vikings need everything on defense. So if they didn't draft, and it's the same thing with the Lions. I think the Lions have 8 draft picks. 5 out of the 8 draft picks need to be defensive players. I think 75 to 80% of the Vikings draft picks need to be defensive guys, because that's where they're lacking. I mean, offensively, we know their star power with Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. I mean, they got some guys on offense. So, I mean, but they got to fix the defense. So I personally think that they got to go the defensive route. And again, I go back to this quarterback class being a little bit down, where I wouldn't necessarily draft a quarterback high. I think they have the 12th pick in the first round. I think if Jordan Davis from Georgia falls to them at defensive tackle, I think if he slips to that place, I mean, they have to take him.
They have to.
Yeah, Jordan Day, you can't pass up on that, man.
Yeah.
I worry about seeing him in the division, but
yes.
Well,
yeah, because I don't know. Minnesota always seems like they always have a great defense.
Yeah, it wasn't like that last year too, which is wild. That was very uncharacteristic.
They'll always have Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, thankfully.
Nobody wants that contract.
No one does.
Absolutely. Well, Bobby, it was great having you on, man. Everybody make sure you check out the TNT College Football Podcast. I know you got some big stuff coming up. You've been hot on the interview trail, man, picking up some Coastal Carolina guys. I know you got some good connections at Uconn. So Make sure you check out Bobby's podcast.
You know what? If you haven't checked out Uconn football, check it out. This guy dedicated. You won't see anyone more dedicated to a team. It's you. I'm not trying to be rude, Bobby. I love UConn, but if you're that dedicated, that's dedication, my friend.
This year was the definition of when you look up dedication in the dictionary. Bobby's 21.
I'm not trying to be rude. My teams are not that great. What do I know? But that's awesome that you. I mean, you don't care. Like you're just having fun with it. Like that's what it needs to be.
Absolutely, and I mean, I had no.
That's journalism to a T.
I had no. When I started this, like a month in, I broke, like we had on the last episode I was on with you guys. I broke down every single program going into the season, and the guys at Sidelines UConn saw my predictions for some of the teams that they're going to play, and they're like, "Hey, we want this guy to help us and like work with us." So I'm like, all right, let's do it. I'm like a month into it. I'm like, wow, I'm already partnered with somebody and all this and that. And I mean, I never rooted for UConn football, but it turned into that. And like you said, I mean, it was difficult. I mean, I watched every single UConn game and play last year so I would be the best journalist I could be. But I mean, like, it wasn't easy, but I mean, Travis Jones, the defensive tackle, I mean, that guy is a monster. I mean, he should be a first-round pick. They have an offensive tackle who could very well get drafted as well. And, I mean, they've done an amazing job recruiting. They got a transfer linebacker from Kentucky. They got a transfer linebacker from Texas Tech, transfer quarterback from Penn State. I mean, they've done some amazing things, and Jim Moore on staff there has really changed things up there. It's really cool to see, and I'm glad that I was a part of it when it was at the absolute rock bottom. So when they build this back up, I can be a part of it too.
That's what I'm saying is going to be the coolest part is when you went through your first season covering them was, one of the most abysmal seasons in their football program's history.
Yes.
And then you're literally there at the ground floor watching it come to the top. But it is on Twitter at TNT College Foot 1. Check out his Facebook page. Follow the link on Twitter. Get you a sweet TNT College Football Podcast shirt. Bobby, I got to ask last thing. Are you going to do the team breakdowns of all teams again this year? Because I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, absolutely. All right. I loved doing that. I mean, it took a lot of time, obviously, but now that I'm not coaching, I have a little bit more time, I guess I could say. I mean, I have young kids, but I stay up late nights doing that, but it's so much fun because I mean,
they go to bed at a good time.
Yes. The end goal for me is maybe I could be one of those guys getting paid to talk about college football like that. I mean, that'd be cool.
You're on the right path, brother.
Let's go.
Make sure, like I said, you check out TNT College Football Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We will most certainly have Bobby on as we near mini camps and off-season stuff, and then as the NFL season approaches us. Bobby, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was great having you on as always, and we're looking forward to the draft this weekend.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to our guy, Bobby Wilson. Make sure you give him a follow at the TNT College Foot 1 on Twitter, the TNT College Football Podcast. It was great catching up with him and getting way more information than we ever knew about the NFL draft this weekend. But, guys, as we all know with the NFL draft, what are you guys expecting out of the Bears coming up here today? Obviously not today. They're not drafting today.
But the Bears have the 39th pick and the 48th pick in the second round, the 71st pick in the third round, the 148th pick in the fifth round, the 150th pick in the fifth round. Oh, two quick picks there. And then the 186th pick in the sixth round. Is there six pick? There's only 6 rounds.
Seven.
Okay, 7 rounds, so they don't have one in the seventh. Maddie, how you feeling?
Just give me good players. I don't know, man. I'll give Brian Poles a shot. There's no reason not to. Hope for the best. I don't know. I have tempered optimism. Let's put it that way.
I'm not very excited either. It's never fun when you don't have a pick in the first round, but there's still going to be. This isn't the greatest draft of all time either. There's still going to probably be some good, hopefully, offensive linemen, wide receivers somewhere there in the second round. Hopefully,
ideally George Pickens is there at 39. That's my hope. Wide
we
receiver
go.
from Georgia, but if he's not, I wouldn't bank on it.
Well, we're gonna clip this, and we're gonna make everyone think that you're right.
I'll take it.
Matty Scoops. But yeah, make sure you tune in. First round is on Thursday, and then the draft goes Friday and Saturday as well. But boys, we haven't done this one in a while. I know you've got some ideas under the influence for us this week. What is yours, Zach?
Nap stations on the highways and interstates. Imagine if you just every once in a while you're just tired.
It's like pods.
Yeah, it's like 9 a.m. You just want a quick nap, maybe 10, 20-minute nap. You can pay for it like dollar bills, just like you would at like a vending machine. You put $10 in, you get 10 minutes of nap time. There's maybe a TV in there. Take a quick nap. And there's also like a gas station connected to it. Boom.
How long? I love the idea, but you got to police that a little bit.
What do you
mean?
You
got into a sex pod, that's for sure.
Not what I was not thinking that at all, guys.
Lot lizards.
How do you think people take naps sometimes?
I love where your brain's at.
Security needs to be enforced.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's just remember, boys, this is under the influence here. These are thoughts I had under the influence.
That's a valid point. That's a valid point. I'm gonna stick to one on the opposite end of the spectrum. Zach's giving us rest and relaxation. I'm going comfort food. Might be ideas under the influence of that same substance Laramie Tunsil was using in the gas mask, but I'm gonna do a food truck. But the specialty and the only item is going to be a baked potato. But it's going to be a slew of toppings on said baked potato. One day it's going to be short rib. One day it's going to be queso. One day it's going to be chili cheese. One day it's going to be the staple sour cream and chive. Maybe 3 or 4 per day total, or like your 2 staples and 1 special. You just got 3 a day. Baked potatoes. You got a bunch of them steamed. You got a bunch of them ready to roll. Easy on top.
I'm hungry, Maddie. Now you're making me hungry.
You can eat it while you're walking. You can eat it like who doesn't like a nice, good, loaded up baked potato with just some crazy topping that you're not used to. Maybe Taco Tuesdays. On Tuesdays, we'll do tacos topped on a baked potato. Salad? Little taco salad on top of a baked potato. Why the fuck not?
I love this idea. And Zach, we should probably cut this because that seems like $1 million idea. Also,
I was literally just thinking the same thing.
Well, we'll censor it if we need to. Just go beep the whole way.
Yeah, just 2 minutes of that. There's actually a page. There's a restaurant.
It's a perfect lunch, dude. Like a baked potato.
Oh, for sure. Especially you throw a protein on that, like chicken, beef, whatever you want.
Pork.
I mean, that's
barbecue pulled pork.
There's actually a TikTok page that I follow. It's a restaurant in Nashville, and I think they only serve like specialty baked potatoes.
Yeah, way to go.
But I think it's a storefront. That's genius, Matt. I'm going completely away from both of what you're talking about, and this kind of relates back to my sinker, and that is paid porta potties, and that you make them nice. So I'm thinking of this place where this poor woman fell in trying to retrieve her phone, and you hire someone, $10 an hour, and they're like what's the guy called it? Like when you go in the bathroom and he'll give you like a mint, like an usher kind of thing. Is that what I'm thinking of? A bathroom attendant. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay, so you hire someone, they work, 12-hour shift, whatever, 8-hour shifts, you get 3 guys. You get a super nice, like it's an outhouse, but it's bigger, and it's got the tile floor, the tile wall, and then you actually like clean it afterwards. I'll put my debit card in that instead of using this thing that this woman fell into. Like $5, if I'm in that big of a pinch, I'd rather pay for it than have to use, the communal outhouse in the middle.
There and they have to clean it every time someone goes to the bathroom in there?
No, just like you have like a bathroom attendant at like a nice restaurant, and he, gives you the amenities. If you need some cologne, he gives you a mint. If there's a really bad mess, he cleans it up. But you paid the money.
If someone missed the toilet.
Yeah, well,
so a personal janitor is what you're getting us.
No, you don't even. You got to slope it to the middle, and you got to give him a high pressured hose in case you do have your big accidents. Then he can go in there, turn the hose on, just take care of all the gross part of it, and not have to.
How about a pressure washer next to your John?
Absolutely.
Like we said,
sometimes you got to wheel it.
Ideas under the influence.
And if you make a real big mess of it, then there's like an upcharge, like an Airbnb, like if you trash the place. Like
I'm gonna say, I think Boomy's idea is like under a 0.20 influence.
Yeah, I mean it's far-fetched.
Really under the influence. I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's far out there. That my sinker really got to me. So I'm trying to think of ways that people don't have to fall into a vault of poop anymore. So. And try to create jobs.
You have now.
Hey, absolutely. Unlock that new fear. So that's always fun. But guys, let's move in to our TCF top 3. And of course, in honor of the NFL draft starting tonight, we have the biggest NFL draft bus. There's quite a few of them. So does anybody want to get us started?
I'll go first. We'll just go through all 3 of them. So we can kind of go through some of these pictures here. First one, this is going to break the hearts of a lot of Bears fans. Kevin White.
Yeah.
Kevin White, he was drafted 7th overall by the Bears and never scored a touchdown for the Bears.
That's tough.
That's tough.
Not good, Bob.
Still grinding it out, though.
Yeah,
pretty sure he's on the Texans.
My second pick is Trent Richardson.
Oh, that's a
good one.
I don't think he played for very long. Amazing college career, like a lot of Alabama running backs do, but
perfect running back body.
Couldn't read a hole to save his life.
He's playing some in football league in like Mexico. This is what I had seen. He was drafted 3rd overall by the Browns. And then my last pick, Matt Leinart. Out of college, this guy was probably one of the coolest guys. He was drafted 10th overall by the Cardinals. And what he's really known for is probably being an announcer nowadays and also being on one of like the greatest college football teams of all time. Mm-hmm. But just not a very good NFL career.
He was
very average.
Awesome in college, dude. People don't talk about
for sure
how good he really was. Like those teams were loaded. He was fucking awesome in college, man. He was a stud.
He was, and like he was just so cool.
Very. He was the guy.
Very SoCal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he was like in college, he was about my age. He was in college when I was in college. Like that was like the guy everybody was like, all right, let's be Matt Leinart. That's perfectly fine, dude, to try to emulate when you're growing up.
Absolutely, those are good picks, Zach. Matt, do you want to go or you want me to get mine?
I'll go. I got 3 that substances really kind of probably derailed most of their careers, but. First one, Jamarcus Russell. Probably never seen anybody with a bigger arm. Just a pure ability to throw the football. I thought the guy was going to be a stud. He was really good in college. He was like had all the tools.
He was so good.
He was really, really tough. Like he was just a beast.
He was first overall, big dude. Right?
Yeah, he could take a hit. He had a rocket for a fucking arm. Like seemed to be like a pretty good like smart player on the field and stuff too. So it was one of those guys that I thought he was going to be a stud. Obviously, the purple drink helped sink him a little bit, but
he also picked
the
drug that just makes you chubby.
That and he just didn't really seem to have the work ethic needed to be a productive NFL quarterback.
Well, the famous story about them sending him home blank VHS tapes and blank DVDs to watch film, and he said that he watched them, and they knew that he did it because they were blank.
Yeah, that one stings.
What a move!
It's a rough way to find out that you really screwed the pooch on your first overall pick.
Yeah.
My next one is it was the second overall pick actually in his draft. And it was a coin flip situation between him and Peyton Manning. My next one's Ryan Leaf. I'll admit, when I was a youngster watching these two do battle in college, I was of the mind Ryan Leaf was going to be an absolute stud in the NFL. I loved Peyton Manning. I thought Ryan Leaf was going to be an absolute just a superstar though, and thought it was a total coin flip. Obviously, it was not. Leaf's career went down. He got really heavily into painkillers, I believe, too. So, seems like he's, I think, kind of tried to turn it around the last few years. But yeah,
he does like
tough
a lot
way
of
to see his.
I think he does a lot of motivational speaking.
Yeah, the guy he's probably got stories for days. So I mean, somebody you should probably listen to. But yeah, I mean, tough career for him. Thought he was going to be a stud. The last one I have is a receiver who I think might have been the best or most talented wide receiver I've ever seen like play at the college level. Is Charles Rogers. That dude was big. He was fast. He had ridiculous hands, ridiculous feet. Thought that guy, coming from Michigan State, getting drafted by the Lions was kind of a seamless transition, and just couldn't figure it out and got in trouble.
I never heard of this guy.
Yeah, he was an absolute star. He was a stud, dude, an absolute stud. Started the train for the Lions of picking 3 wide receivers in a row of top 10 picks, and I thought between him and Mike Williams, I thought Mike Williams was also going to be a stud, but Charles Rogers was a real deal, I thought for sure.
Passed away, right?
Yeah, I think he died a couple years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah,
might have been a little bit longer. Yeah, tough. It's a sad story, and you just don't like to see like guys that have that much talent just kind of let it go. But
this is absurd, Matt. I'm on his Wikipedia page right now. He played 24 games at Michigan State. He had 2,821 yards in 24 games.
He was Randy Moss in college. I'm not fucking kidding, dude. Like he was the real deal.
Goodness gracious.
He had
27 touchdowns.
Absolute garbage quarterback too in college. It was fucking Drew Smoker.
Jake Smoker.
Or I think it was Jake Smoker. Jeff Smoker. I knew one of the J's. Smoker J. Yeah. Whatever it is. But Jeff Smoker was just not a great college quarterback. It was one of those things where if that guy if he had a Matt Leinart or something, it would have been some real fireworks.
Good Lord. Charles Rogers had 2 children before he graduated high school.
I think he ended up with like 8 kids between like 4 or 5 women. It was he had some issues, that's for sure. But
yeah, he was a stud. Good choices there, Maddie. I'll finish up with mine. My first one as a Packers fan. I got to go with Tony Mandridge. He was supposed to be. I know this is a little bit before my time, but he's still one. You hear about all the time. I mean, he was an absolute science experiment. Going in the first round. I mean, he's supposed to be the next big thing, and just could not get it together.
A science experiment or a steroid experiment?
That's what I was getting at. I mean, just absolutely juiced to the gills. I mean, he had the giant cowboy collar. He was just a specimen, and he just never produced for the Packers, and was a huge bust for them. Really says a lot about the late 80s, early 90s Packers that were just absolute garbage. Moving into one a little bit more recently, Johnny Manziel. As a Florida fan, I always hated Johnny Manziel because he was so good in college. And then obviously some of his, off the field stuff. But like even he was like a late first round pick, and everybody's like, oh, that's still really good value, and just did nothing and was out of the NFL in a couple seasons. I believe he's playing in the fan-controlled football league right now.
I don't even think he really plays in that. I think he just has like a part owner or something.
Well, no, he had a touchdown pass to Terrell Owens last weekend. Yeah,
I thought I'd seen him like in the stands.
No, he had a touchdown pass to Terrell Owens. They play on the Zappers, which
I think Bob Memory owns the team.
Yep. And then last, I have RG3. The Washington Redskins traded everything to the Rams to get RG3. Had a really good first year, and then unfortunately for him, I feel like a lot of it came with the injuries. But I mean,
he played on one of the worst fields of all time.
With like fucking ACL left. think he ripped them both
seriously. But I mean, it was a stud in college. Those Baylor teams were insanely good. And I won a Heisman on the cover of NCAA football, and then it was a couple years and he was out, and just it's just such a Washington story for them to trade as many picks as they did to the Rams, and then it kind of fizzled out there. So those are my top three. Who all
career as a backup?
Yeah, that's
the only
true.
one that I didn't say of mine, Tim Tebow.
No, it's because he's a baseball player.
If you want to stick to the Bears, you got Stan Thomas was bad, Cade McNown was bad, Cedric Benson was bad, Curtis Enos was bad.
We drafted
Matt,
Mr. Whiskey 12.
Yeah.
Rashawn Salam didn't work out.
Matt, I know this was a little bit before my time. That's why I didn't pick him. But Todd Marinovich.
Gabe Karimi. Todd Marinovich, yeah. Yeah, he was.
I mean,
his dad was the one that drove him into the ground.
Yeah,
he was like one of those crazy psycho parents, and Marinovich got into drugs and kind of shit his career away.
Doing meth in the middle of games, going into.
I think heroin was his drug.
Heroin, yeah. Yeah, he cut his hand on a crack pipe or something in the middle of a game.
Yeah, he was uber talented, but man, it didn't work out for him because of drugs. But yeah, it was. I was gonna say with Mandridge, he was the one I was gonna say if you didn't. That was the guy my dad always made fun of growing up because he, being a huge Bears fan. Mandridge was always the guy that got all the pub. Brian Bosworth was another one. Long time. He was an Oklahoma stud linebacker, drafted early by the Seahawks. Got fucking ran over by Bo Jackson, and that was basically his career wrapped up in one. He was another guy that was juiced up to the gills, like Boom said as well. Bo Jackson, I wouldn't call it bust in the NFL. Bo Jackson would have been probably one of the best running backs of all time had he not had his hip
femur completely snap.
Yeah, his hip and his leg just got completely shredded. And that was just that was not a bust situation, but any chance I can get to drop Bo Jackson on us is somebody.
Do you know how hard it is to break a human femur bone?
The fucking way it happened, though, too, dude. His leg was pulled from behind.
Disgusting. Yeah.
I remember I think there was a 30 for 30 on him, and they're the only way that happens is because he was so strong.
Yeah, yes. It's nuts, dude. It's crazy.
We had a kid that I went to high school with that broke his femur. I believe it was his sophomore year, and they told him it takes over 700 pounds of pressure to break the human femur. I mean, that says all it is right there.
Fucking elephant.
Yeah, seriously. But let us know who any of the ones we must have forgot here on the draft bus. But boys, that was episode 134. Thank you to our guy Bobby Wilson for checking in. We'll have to make sure we get Bobby back here in the off season. Make sure you check out his page at TNT College Foot 1 for the podcast there. Make sure you check us out on Twitter at typical_Chicago. Head to our Facebook and Instagram pages. Give those a like. YouTube, subscribe there for all of our content in video form. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts. Check us out wherever you get those at, wherever you get your podcasts at. Follow Zach on Twitter at ZLiliaTCF, Maddie at schools_01, and I can be found at BoomyTCF. Thank you for joining us. That was episode 134 of Typical Chicago Fans. We love you all.
Peace.